Every morning at 4:44 a.m., my mother made me lie in a drowning box while she poured water over my face for exactly 3 minutes. She called it preparation for our family's hereditary curse. Then, on her 25th birthday, she started clawing at her arms, screaming that needles were growing under her skin. In my family, we had something called preparation morning every single morning at 4:44 a.m. It wasn't like other families who just woke up and had breakfast. My mom would ring this old copper bell 3 times and we'd all line up in the hallway wearing our assigned colors. I was blue. My sister Hannah was red. My little brother Ethan was yellow. Each of us had a different preparation. Mine was the drowning box. Every morning I had to lie in this wooden box while mom poured water over my face through a cloth for exactly 3 minutes while I held my breath. She'd stop just when I started convulsing. Hannah had to burn herself. She had to hold her palm over a candle flame until the skin blistered. Ethan had needles. 7 needles pushed under his fingernails that stayed there until preparations ended. Mom called it inheritance readiness. I thrashed through it every single morning. The rule was you couldn't refuse or preparations got doubled the next day. The strangest part was that we couldn't tell anyone. Not teachers when they saw Hannah's bandaged hands. Not friends when I showed up with bloodshot eyes and burst capillaries. Not even dad who worked night shifts and never saw what happened. I only realized how messed up it was when I stayed at my friend Carlos's house and his family just woke up whenever and ate cereal. But the worst part was the progression. Every year on our birthdays, the preparations got harder. When I turned 13, the drowning extended to 5 minutes and mom started adding salt to the water. When Hannah turned 14, she had to burn both palms and her forearms. When Ethan turned 8, the needles became 10 and went deeper. Mom said it was necessary to activate our potential before it activated us. When I got older, I started pushing back. Why did we torture ourselves every morning while other kids got to sleep in and eat breakfast and live normal lives? I remember the morning I turned 16 and mom brought out a plastic bag instead of the cloth. I stood there in my blue pajamas and just said no. Mom grabbed my wrist with this grip I'd never felt before. Her eyes looked almost yellow in the hallway light. The inheritance chooses its moment, she said. We choose ours first. That's when I knew something was deeply wrong. Carlos's family had normal routines. Morning cartoons, pancakes on weekends, no drowning, no burning, no needles, just life. I finally refused completely when I turned 17. Mom went silent, completely silent. She just stood there holding that copper bell while Hannah cradled her scarred hands and Ethan's fingers dripped blood on the hardwood. Then she walked to her room and locked the door. We heard her on the phone speaking in a language I didn't recognize. The next morning she acted like nothing happened, made us breakfast, drove us to school, smiled and waved, but that night I heard her crying in her room. She kept repeating a name, Vera, 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 over and over. Still the whole thing haunted me. What was this inheritance she kept talking about? Why were our preparations so specifically brutal? Why did she look terrified when I refused? A few months later, I was helping clean out the attic when I found a box labeled Vera, 1987. Inside were medical files, psychiatric evaluations, photos of a woman who looked exactly like my mom but younger. Her body was covered in scars, burn marks, puncture wounds. The name on the files was Vera Rains. My mom's name is Patricia. I read through everything that night while everyone slept. Vera Rains had been institutionalized for something called cyclical hereditary psychosis. The doctors noted that her mother had the same condition, and her grandmother. Each manifested differently. One believed she was drowning constantly and clawed her own throat raw. One felt phantom flames and threw herself into water until she died. One was convinced needles were growing from inside her body and tore her skin apart trying to pull them out. The onset age varied but always happened before 25. Then I found the adoption papers. Vera Rains had given up a baby girl in 1987. Patricia Vera Rains, my mother. The final document made my hands shake. It was a journal entry from Vera. She wrote that she'd found a way to prevent the psychosis from manifesting. You had to experience the exact sensation of your hereditary delusion in controlled doses before onset. Build tolerance, like a psychological vaccine. Drowning sensations for hydrophobic psychosis. Controlled burns for pyrophobic breaks. Needle exposure for penetration delusions. She tried it on herself, but it was too late. The curse had already taken hold. She'd torn her own skin off, believing needles were erupting from her bones. But maybe her daughter could be saved. Maybe her daughter's children could be saved. I looked at the dates. Mom would be 25 next month. Hannah was 19. I was 17. Ethan was only 12. I found Mom in the kitchen at 4:43 a.m. the next morning. She was holding the copper bell but not ringing it, just staring at it. I saw fresh scratch marks on her arms. It's starting, she said. I can feel them moving under my skin. The needles, just like grandmother Vera. The bell slipped from her fingers and clattered on the tile floor. I picked it up, feeling its cold weight in my palm. Mother's scratching intensified, her nails leaving red trails down her forearms. I guided her to the kitchen table and wrapped a dish towel around her arms. She let me, which scared me more than resistance would have. Her eyes stayed fixed on something I couldn't see, tracking invisible movement beneath her skin. Hannah appeared in the doorway, rubbing sleep from her eyes. She took one look at Mother's arms and went rigid. Without a word, she moved to the medicine cabinet and brought back antiseptic and bandages. We'd gotten good at this routine over the years, though never for Mother. Ethan's footsteps creaked overhead. I caught Hannah's eye and shook my head. Let him sleep. He didn't need to see this. Mother's whispers grew louder. She described the needles in detail, their length, their movement, how they pushed against her skin from inside. Her descriptions matched Vera's journal entries exactly, word for word in some places. I texted Dad from under the table. Simple message. Come home. Emergency. His shift ended in 2 hours, but I couldn't wait that long. Hannah finished bandaging Mother's arms while I made tea. Normal morning activities felt surreal when Mother sat there convinced metal was growing inside her body. She accepted the mug but didn't drink, just held it between her palms like she was trying to feel something real. The garage door rumbled. Dad never came home early. Never. But there he was, still in his security uniform, taking in the scene. The bell on the counter. Mother's bandaged arms, our exhausted faces. He knelt beside Mother's chair and examined her arms without speaking. She didn't acknowledge him, just kept whispering about the needles. Dad's jaw tightened with each word. Hannah showed him her phone, the documentation she'd been keeping for months. Photos of Mother's increasing symptoms, videos of her night episodes, timestamps showing the pattern, always worse at 4:44. Dad scrolled through everything, his face growing paler. When he reached the recent entries, his hands shook. Mother testing restraints on herself, buying medical supplies, practicing. How long? His voice cracked. Months, Hannah answered. But worse this week. Mother suddenly gripped my wrist, her fingers digging in hard enough to bruise. The needles are singing. Can't you hear them? Her eyes blazed with certainty. They want out. They need out. I kept my voice steady. There are no needles, Mom. It's the illness, like Vera. Wrong thing to say. Mother yanked her hand back like I'd burned her. I'm not Vera. I fixed it. The preparations fixed it. She turned to Hannah, desperate. You haven't missed any mornings. You're safe. Tell him you're safe. Hannah's scarred hands trembled as she reached for Mother. Mom, we need to talk about stopping the preparations. Mother shot up from the chair, knocking over the tea. Number no stopping. It's working. You're all still healthy. Still whole. She grabbed the bell from the counter, clutching it against her chest. We just need to adjust the doses. Make them stronger. Dad stepped between us. Patricia, the kids aren't doing preparations anymore. The silence stretched until my ears rang. Mother stared at Dad like she'd never seen him before. Then she laughed. Not her normal laugh. Something broken and sharp. You don't understand. None of you understand. I've seen what happens without preparation. I've seen watching Vera claw through her own walls. I've seen the medical photos, the blood, the screaming. Her voice rose with each word. I won't let that happen to my babies. She bolted for the stairs. Dad caught her arm, but she twisted away with surprising strength. We heard her bedroom door slam, the lock clicking into place. Dad slumped against the wall. I've been researching. After I saw the burns at breakfast last week, found some things. He pulled out his phone, showing us his search history, mental health facilities, hereditary psychosis, treatment options. She's getting worse, I said. I know. Dad rubbed his face. I've been documenting too. Started a notebook. Already filled 5 pages just from what I've observed this week. Ethan appeared on the stairs, still in his yellow pajamas. Why is everyone up? It's Saturday. Before anyone could answer, we heard glass breaking upstairs. Dad took the stairs 3 at a time. We found Mother in the bathroom, mirror shattered, holding a shard of glass. They're right here, she said, pointing at her forearm. I can see them under the skin. Just need to make a small cut. Let them out. Dad wrestled the glass away while I grabbed towels. Hannah called someone on her phone. I caught Carlos's mom and please come. Mother fought us. I wonder what's really going on with this preparation morning thing. Drowning boxes and burning hands at 4:44 a.m. seems like such a specific ritual. There's something deeply unsettling about how the mom insists this prevents some family curse while making her kids suffer every single morning. Not violently, but with desperate determination. She needed to get the needles out, had to help them escape. Her skin was crawling with them. Carlos's mom arrived within minutes, still in her scrubs from the hospital night shift. She took one look at the scene and went into nurse mode. Calm, efficient, no questions asked. She examined Mother's arms, checking for serious damage. Surface cuts only, nothing requiring stitches. She cleaned and dressed the wounds while Mother explained about the needles, how they sang at specific frequencies, how they moved in patterns. Has she taken anything? Carlos's mom asked quietly. No medications, Dad answered. She refuses. Carlos's mom nodded and continued working. When she finished, she pulled us aside. This needs professional help soon. I know, Dad said, but she won't go voluntarily. Then document everything. Every episode, every injury, every delusion. Build a case. She handed Hannah a card. Call me anytime, day or night. After she left, we took shifts watching Mother. She'd calmed down but kept scratching at the bandages. Dad made breakfast while I sat with her. Hannah took Ethan to the living room, distracting him with cartoons. Mother grabbed my hand suddenly. The preparations work, she insisted. You're 17 and healthy. No signs of hydrophobic psychosis. The drowning box saved you. I thought about all those mornings. The water, the panic, the convulsions. Mom, I have panic attacks every time I'm near water. I can't even take baths anymore. Only showers. She shook her head. That's not psychosis. That's just preparation side effects. Small price. What about Hannah's hands? The permanent scarring? Better than phantom flames. Better than throwing herself into water to escape burning that isn't real. And Ethan's nerve damage? Mother went quiet. Then, so soft I almost missed it. I didn't mean for it to go that far. The needles were supposed to build tolerance, not cause permanent harm. Dad returned with toast and eggs. Normal breakfast. No bells. No assigned colors. No torture. Mother picked at the food, lost in thought. My birthday is next week, she said suddenly. 25. The age Vera broke completely. She looked at me with clear eyes. I can feel it starting, just like the journal said. Hannah had been recording again, quietly documenting from the doorway. Mother noticed but didn't stop her. Good, she said. Keep recording. Show the doctors I tried. Show them the preparations almost worked. Dad's phone buzzed. Text from his sister across town. She was coming over. Had information about the family history. Things she'd never told him before. Mother laughed, brittle and sad. They all knew. Every one of them. Watched me grow up knowing what was coming. Waiting to see if I'd be the one to break the pattern. The doorbell rang. Dad's sister entered with a box of old papers. Newspaper clippings, medical records, photos going back generations. The Rains family curse, documented in yellowing newsprint. Each generation, it gets stronger, she explained. Starts younger. Vera made it to 28 before breaking. Her mother lasted until 35. Her grandmother almost made it to 40. Mother studied the papers with shaking hands. So the preparations made it worse? Triggered it earlier? We think so. The trauma, the stress, it accelerates the onset. Mother crumpled. All those years of torturing her children. All those mornings of drowning and burning and piercing. She'd made it worse. She'd guaranteed what she'd tried to prevent. Dad held her while she sobbed. Real tears this time, not the manic crying of delusion. Hannah lowered her phone, giving them privacy. Ethan hugged my waist, confused but knowing something important was happening. The next hours blurred together. Phone calls to doctors, hushed conversations about treatment options. Mother cycling between lucid moments and needle obsessions. Dad's family arriving in shifts, sharing their own stories of watching loved ones succumb. By evening, Mother had agreed to try medication, not hospitalization. She begged us not to lock her away like Vera, but pills, therapy, outpatient treatment, a chance. Carlos's mom returned with prescription bottles and careful instructions. Mother took the first dose without protest, exhausted from fighting her own mind. That night, we all slept in the living room, together. No bells, no preparations. Just a family facing an inherited curse with medicine instead of torture. It wasn't fixed, wouldn't be for a long time, but it was a start. Mother woke only once, whimpering about needles. I held her hand and reminded her of the medication, the real help, the break in the pattern. We're going to be okay, I told her, hoping it was true. She squeezed back, her grip gentle this time. Human. The children? We'll watch them, test them, treat them properly if symptoms appear. She nodded and drifted back to sleep. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. The medication might not work, the psychosis might win, but tonight we'd chosen love over fear, medicine over superstition. The copper bell sat silent on the kitchen counter. In the morning, I would throw it away. The copper bell remained on the counter for 3 more days. Each morning, I woke at 4:44 a.m. out of habit, my body conditioned by years of torture. Mother's medication seemed to work during daylight hours, but nights brought fresh horrors. On the 4th night, I discovered Mother had changed the Wi-Fi password. The new code was written on her scarred forearm in black pen, VERA 1987NEEDLES. She disconnected the landline too. When I confronted her, she explained that outside thoughts interfered with preparation. Her eyes held that familiar yellow tint as she collected our phones, locking them in the basement storage room. Hannah tried reasoning with her, but Mother's response was to produce a box of new candles, industrial strength, the kind used for welding. She demonstrated their heat by melting a plastic cup, then asked Hannah to practice, just once, for safety. Dad's work schedule kept him away during Mother's worst episodes. His supervisor later told us Dad had been taking unauthorized breaks, driving past our house at odd hours. The security company threatened termination if it continued. Our elderly neighbor, Mrs. Chen, knocked on our door one afternoon. She'd lived next door for 40 years and remembered when our house belonged to someone else. A woman named Vera, who'd clawed through the dining room walls with her bare hands, convinced needles were growing inside the wood. The damage was still visible if you knew where to look. Mother listened to this story with fascination, running her fingers along the patched sections of drywall. Carlos's mom taught us documentation techniques during a secret meeting in their garage. She showed Hannah how to record episodes discreetly, how to note times and behaviors that would matter to doctors. She explained that legal protection didn't require police involvement if we built our case carefully. Ethan backed up the files to cloud storage using the school library computers. Mother discovered the camera 2 days later but seemed pleased rather than angry. She wanted evidence that she'd tried to save us. She began performing for the camera, demonstrating proper preparation techniques on herself. The video showed her holding flames to her palms until the skin bubbled, submerging her face in the kitchen sink until she convulsed, sliding sewing needles under her fingernails with medical precision. I recognized these as the same isolation tactics described in Vera's journal. Cut off communication, create dependence, normalize the abnormal. The pattern was playing out exactly as documented in those yellowed pages. Dad confronted me in the garage after finding preparation supplies hidden in my car trunk. He'd been documenting everything in a notebook, already filling 5 pages since that morning's incident. He knew about the morning rituals now, the drowning box, the candles, the needles. His hands shook as he showed me his research on hereditary psychosis. Mother's childhood friend Sarah visited the next week. She mentioned that Patricia had been obsessed with preventing something even as a 10-year-old child, always talking about inheritance, about breaking patterns, about protection through pain. The fear predated us. It had been growing in Mother's mind for decades. During family dinner, Mother couldn't stop staring at her arms. She whispered about movement under the skin, about singing frequencies only she could hear. Dad finally witnessed what we'd been hiding. His fork clattered to his plate as Mother began scratching, her nails leaving bloody furrows in her forearms. The pattern emerged clearly. Mother's scratching intensified at exactly 4:44 a.m., 12:44 p.m., and 8:44 p.m. She marked these times on every clock in the house with red marker. During these episodes, she demanded we perform preparations. When we refused, she offered bargains. Double preparations now to prevent triple later. Concentrated doses to build immunity faster. Hannah kept attending preparations despite Dad's offer to hide her at a friend's house. She explained her reasoning simply. We were all Mother had. If we abandoned her, she'd hurt herself worse. So Hannah held her already scarred hands over candles while Mother watched with approval. I found Hannah teaching herself first aid in her room, preparing for worse burns to come. Our family doctor refused to see Mother without Dad present, citing protocol for certain conditions. The receptionist's eyes held recognition when I mentioned the Rains name. This wasn't their first encounter with our family curse. Dad called his sister across town, who admitted the family had always known about the hereditary condition. Every generation produced women who succumbed to specific delusions. The men carried the gene but never manifested symptoms. They all lived within 50 miles. A network of relatives who'd watched and waited to see if Patricia would break the pattern. What a heartbreaking turn with Mother's medication not working like everyone hoped. The Wi-Fi password Vera1987 needles gives me chills. She's literally connecting herself to her aunt's tragedy. Mother's 25th birthday approached like a storm system on weather radar. She marked the calendar with increasingly frantic symbols, circles within circles, needles drawn in red ink, water droplets colored blue, fire sketched in orange. On the final day, she wrote inheritance activation in letters so large they covered 3 date squares. I studied Vera's records more carefully, realizing something crucial. The preparations exactly matched each generation's specific delusion. Vera's mother had drowned her daily in controlled doses. Vera's grandmother had burned her with precise flame exposure. Each mother had tortured their children with the very thing they feared most, believing it would save them. The torture was tailored to genetics, passed down like a twisted family recipe. We developed a system as siblings. One would distract Mother while the others hid dangerous items. Ethan proved surprisingly good at misdirection, asking complex questions about preparation theory while Hannah and I removed knives, needles, matches, and pills. Mother's hiding spots grew creative. Inside book spines, behind picture frames, sewn into pillow linings. Carlos's mom examined Mother's infected arms during an unofficial house call. The repetitive scratching had caused nerve damage. Some sensation might never return. She provided antibiotics and proper wound dressings, teaching us how to change them while Mother insisted the bandages trap the needles inside. Mother's influence remained limited to immediate family. Everyone else saw her as strict but devoted. She volunteered at the PTA, organizing bake sales with bandaged arms. She attended book club with the school counselor, discussing novels while unconsciously scratching. The public face she maintained made intervention harder. Dad's documentation revealed how much we'd normalized. Reading his observations felt like seeing our life through strangers' eyes. Children performing morning torture rituals, a mother self-harming with medical precision, a family keeping elaborate secrets from the outside world. What seemed like gradual adaptation was actually rapid descent into madness. Extended family members began sharing their own stories. Dad's aunt watched her mother stuff her mouth with dirt, convinced she was drowning in air. His cousin's wife had torn out her own hair, feeling phantom flames that water couldn't extinguish. Each story followed the pattern. Women in their 20s, specific delusions, progressive deterioration. The truth became undeniable. Preparations were desperate attempts to break an inevitable pattern. Each generation tried to protect the next through controlled exposure, but the trauma only triggered earlier onset. Mother had accelerated her own psychosis, trying to prevent ours. During a lucid moment, Mother admitted she knew the preparations might make things worse. She'd read Vera's journal, seen the pattern, understood the risk, but the possibility of saving us outweighed the certainty of her own destruction. She begged us to continue preparations without her when she could no longer guide us. We refused. Dad physically blocked her attempts to force the issue. She tried emotional manipulation, claiming I would drown in my own saliva. Hannah would spontaneously combust. Ethan would grow needles from his bones. We held strong together, recognizing the delusions for what they were. Mother's birthday arrived with a false calm. She took her medication voluntarily, seemed clearer than she'd been in weeks. The scratching reduced to occasional touches. She even laughed at dinner, commenting on Ethan's terrible joke about school lunch. Normal felt foreign after months of crisis. 2 days of improvement made us hopeful. Mother asked about finding Vera, wondering if her birth mother was still alive. We searched state psychiatric facility records, eventually locating her at a long-term care facility 3 hours away. The drive felt like pilgrimage. Vera sat in the day room, arms wrapped in thick gauze, fingers curled from years of self-injury, but her eyes were clear. The medication had finally worked, decades too late. She recognized something in Mother immediately, reaching out with bandaged hands. They talked for an hour while we waited in the hallway. Through the window, we saw Vera demonstrating something with her hands, Mother nodding along. When they finished, Mother emerged looking hollow but determined. Vera had confirmed what we suspected. The preparations had made everything worse. We found newspaper articles online documenting the Rains family curse across generations. Each article reported onset at younger ages. Vera at 28, her mother at 35, her grandmother at 40. The pattern was accelerating. At this rate, Ethan faced symptoms before finishing high school. Carlos's mom explained that genetic testing could confirm the mutation, but results would take weeks. She'd already contacted specialists who studied hereditary psychiatric conditions. There were new treatments, experimental protocols, ways to monitor and manage that didn't involve torture. The family meeting that night was decisive. No more preparations, proper medical support instead of morning torture. Focus on medication, therapy, and monitoring. Dad's extended family agreed to help, creating rotation schedules that didn't require institutionalization. Mother seemed to accept this during her lucid moments. She took her medication, attended video therapy sessions, allowed us to treat her wounds. Progress felt possible for the first time in months. Then came her 25th birthday. I woke to find the bathroom door locked. Strange sounds coming from inside. The door gave way after 3 kicks. Mother sat on the tile floor, methodically inserting needles under each fingernail. Not sewing needles, industrial ones she'd hidden during her improvement. She'd planned this, used her clear days to prepare for breakdown. She looked up at me with those yellow eyes and smiled. Blood dripped onto white tile in a pattern that looked almost deliberate. She'd pushed the needles so deep they scraped against bone. Her fingers had swollen purple around the metal, but she kept pushing. I grabbed towels while calling for help. Dad arrived first, then Hannah, who immediately wanted to resume her burning to show Mother we understood. Dad had to physically restrain her while I worked on Mother's hands. The trauma was spreading, infecting my sister's judgment. Ethan stayed at a friend's house that night. We'd arranged it in advance, protecting his innocence as long as possible. That left me to handle the crisis while Dad took Hannah to the emergency room for her own evaluation. The weight of inheritance fell squarely on my shoulders. I made the crucial decision to give Mother the sedatives she'd hidden in her jewelry box. She'd stockpiled them instead of taking them, another deception during her improvement. The pills worked fast, her body going limp as the needles still protruded from her fingernails. The next morning, Mother woke in her own bed with bandaged hands. No restraints, no locked doors, just family surrounding her with love instead of force. She cried, real tears, not the manic weeping of delusion. For a moment she was just Patricia again, not the inheritor of generations of madness. But the moment passed. The needles still sang to her, she said. They wanted out. They needed out. The bandages were keeping them trapped, making them angry. She begged us to understand, to let her free them just this once. We held firm. Love meant saying no. Love meant preventing harm. Love meant choosing her life over her delusions. The battle was far from over, but we'd found our weapons. Not drowning boxes or candles or needles, but medicine and patience and the brutal kindness of refusing to participate in generational trauma. The copper bell still sat on the kitchen counter, waiting to be discarded. Tomorrow I would throw it away. Tonight, we had to survive. The bell rang 3 times as I got the wooden drowning box while Mother watched with yellowed eyes, her fingers unconsciously scratching at her forearms. In the garage, Mother grabbed my wrist hard enough to bruise, whispering about singing needles. The strange pattern of scratches she left made my skin crawl. Hannah arrived in the kitchen to find Mother holding lit candles directly against her own palms, tears streaming down her face. The smell of burning flesh filled the room as Mother demonstrated proper technique, insisting we watch and learn. Ethan texted from his room that he heard Dad's car outside. He sometimes came home between his security rounds to check on us. I shoved preparation materials into the closet as Dad's key turned in the lock, Mother still clutching her burnt hands behind her back. Dad found our family awake at 5 a.m. and asked about the burning smell. Mother kept her hands hidden, explaining we'd been making early breakfast. The bell on the counter caught his attention, but he said nothing. During Dad's shower, I discovered Mother had hidden sewing needles throughout the house. The kitchen junk drawer held dozens. The bathroom cabinet contained industrial-grade ones. She'd been stockpiling for weeks. Hannah showed me her phone with 47 texts from Mother between midnight and 4 a.m. The messages started coherent but devolved into rambling about activating early, about time running out, about the needles calling to her. At the breakfast table, Mother insisted everyone wear their preparation colors. Dad noticed our assigned pajamas but stayed quiet, watching Mother's bandaged hands shake as she poured orange juice. Mrs. Chen called about strange noises at 3 a.m. She'd seen Mother in the backyard digging with bare hands, muttering about burying something important. The holes remained visible from our kitchen window. I found Mother's journal hidden inside the old preparation supply box. Pages documented which child inherited which psychosis type. Mother's behavior seems calculated beneath the chaos, hiding industrial needles during her clear days, stockpiling sedatives instead of taking them. Even the birthday timing feels deliberately chosen somehow. My name appeared next to drowning delusions. Hannah's beside pyrophobic manifestation. Ethan's with penetration psychosis. Dad texted me to meet in the garage in 5 minutes without telling Mom. His message felt urgent, the kind that meant he'd discovered something important. At school, Hannah's chemistry teacher pulled her aside about the burn patterns on her arms. Hannah claimed cooking accidents, but the teacher's expression suggested she wasn't buying it. She handed Hannah a pamphlet about getting help. An old letter from Vera fell out of Mom's papers while I searched for more journals. The shaky handwriting warned that preparations had made her condition worse, dated 1 week before her institutionalization. The paper smelled like decay. Mother appeared at Ethan's school nurse's office, demanding to examine his hands for infection risk. The nurse called Dad, concerned about Mother's agitated state and the fresh scratches covering her arms. My job at the community pool triggered a panic attack when children practiced holding their breath underwater. Their instructor's countdown echoed Mother's morning rituals. I had to leave my shift early, hands trembling. The school counselor dismissed my concerns when I tried explaining our situation. Mother volunteered at PTA meetings and seemed so devoted. She'd recently joined the counselor's book club, cementing her image as a caring parent. I followed Mother to a medical supply store where she purchased industrial needles and medical restraints. She paid cash, avoiding records. Her movements seemed practiced, like she'd done this before. Security footage from the store showed Mother testing restraints on herself in the bathroom. She'd practiced escape techniques, timing how long it took to free herself. The preparation went deeper than we'd imagined. Dad's browser history revealed searches about mental health facilities and hereditary conditions. The timestamps showed he'd been researching since witnessing Mother's breakfast episode. His notebook already contained detailed observations. A pattern emerged in Mother's behavior. Her scratching intensified at exactly 4:44 a.m., 12:44 p.m., and 8:44 p.m. She'd marked these times on every clock, creating a schedule of deterioration we could predict. Carlos's mom quietly offered to examine our injuries without questions. The rosary beads on her rearview mirror swayed as she explained she'd seen similar cases at the hospital. Her kindness felt like a lifeline. Hannah began recording Mother's episodes after Carlos's mom taught her proper documentation techniques. Legal protection didn't require police involvement if we built our case carefully. The videos accumulated on her phone. Mother discovered the camera but seemed pleased rather than angry. Ethan had already backed up the files to cloud storage using school computers. Mother wanted evidence of her efforts to save us. Dad confronted me in the garage about the morning rituals. His voice cracked as he described finding preparation supplies in my car. He needed to get us help, he said. The cycle had to stop. Mother changed the Wi-Fi password and hid our phones, claiming outside thoughts interfered with preparation. The new password, written on her scarred arm in pen, read VERA 1987NEEDLES. Isolation tactics from Vera's journal. I recognized the pattern immediately. Cut communication, create dependence, normalize torture. Mother was following a script written by generations of broken women before her. Our elderly neighbor mentioned knowing Vera. She'd lived in our house decades ago, clawing through walls, convinced needles grew in the wood. The patches remained visible if you knew where to look. Hannah refused Mother's demand to burn patterns into her skin for practice. Mother's eyes went completely blank, staring through Hannah like she'd ceased to exist. The silence stretched until Hannah fled the room. I photographed Mother's arms while she slept. The scratch patterns matched Vera's medical photos exactly. Generation after generation, the same wounds appeared in the same places. The curse had a signature. Our family doctor refused to see Mother without Dad present, citing protocol for certain conditions. The receptionist's knowing look suggested the Rain's name carried weight in their files. We weren't the first. Siblings created a secret meeting spot in Carlos's garage to share documentation strategies. The trauma bonded us in ways normal families couldn't understand. We developed our own language of survival. Dad's night shift supervisor revealed he'd been taking unauthorized breaks to drive by our house. The security company threatened termination, but Dad couldn't stop checking on us. His fear matched ours. Sarah visited and mentioned Patricia's childhood obsession with preventing something terrible. Even at age 10, Mother had talked constantly about inheritance and protection. The fear predated her children by decades. I calmly talked Mother down from forcing Ethan to use dirty needles. Using her own preparation language, I convinced her that clean needles would be more effective. Small victories in an endless war. Mother's 25th birthday loomed 72 hours away. She marked the calendar with frantic symbols, circles within circles, needles drawn in red, water droplets in blue, fire sketched in orange. Inheritance activation, sprawled across 3 date squares. Sarah admitted Patricia's obsession with preventing something bad had defined their friendship. Always talking about inheritance, about breaking patterns, about protection through pain. Mother's fear had deep roots. During family dinner, Mother couldn't stop staring at her arms. She whispered about movement under the skin, about things trying to escape. Dad finally witnessed what we'd been hiding for months. Mother offered to stop preparations if I agreed to double doses. When I refused, she screamed about failing Vera, about dooming us all. Her desperation felt like drowning in air. Hannah found Ethan teaching himself first aid for when Mom got worse. At 12, he'd already accepted what was coming. His matter-of-fact preparation broke something inside me. Dad revealed his documentation efforts, showing a notebook already filled with 5 pages of observations. He'd been tracking Mother's decline since the breakfast incident. Evidence accumulated faster than hope. Mother's influence remained limited to immediate family. Everyone else saw her as strict but devoted. She organized PTA bake sales with bandaged arms, maintaining a public face that made intervention harder. Reading Vera's records more carefully revealed the truth. Preparations exactly matched each generation's specific delusion. Torture tailored to genetics, passed down like a family recipe written in blood and suffering. Hannah kept attending preparations despite Dad's offer to hide her elsewhere. We were all Mother had, she explained. Abandoning her would only accelerate the breakdown. Love meant witnessing destruction. Siblings developed a system of distraction and removal. One engaged Mother in complex preparation theory while others hid dangerous items. Ethan proved surprisingly adept at misdirection, his innocence a weapon. I refused to use Dad's documentation to commit Mother involuntarily. There had to be another way, I insisted. Force would only validate her fears about the system trying to stop her. Mother admitted during a lucid moment that she felt it starting, just like Vera's journal described. The needles sang to her now, calling from beneath her skin. She begged us to continue preparations without her. Carlos's mom confirmed what medical records showed. Extreme stress triggered earlier onset. Each generation's attempts to prevent the curse only accelerated its arrival. Mother had sabotaged herself trying to save us. Dad called his sister across town. She admitted the family had always known about the hereditary condition. Every generation produced women who succumbed. Men carried the gene but never manifested symptoms. The pattern became undeniable. Every woman who tried to prevent it made it worse. Generations of mothers torturing daughters, each believing they'd found the solution. The curse fed on their desperation. I organized support through Carlos's mom's medical connections. Off-the-record help from nurses who understood. A network of professionals willing to work outside normal channels to help a desperate family. Mother admitted she'd known preparations might make things worse. She'd read Vera's journal, understood the risk, but the possibility of saving us outweighed her own certain destruction. Love expressed through torture. Extended family apologized for not intervening sooner. They'd thought Patricia had broken the pattern. Living scattered across town, they'd watched and waited, hoping this generation would be different. Mother's options narrowed as scratching became gouging. Her arms grew infected despite our first aid attempts. The wounds went deeper each day, following patterns established by generations of Rain's women. Dad's sister revealed newspaper articles about the family curse. Each generation's onset reported at younger ages. The acceleration meant Ethan might face symptoms before finishing high school. Time was our enemy. I ensured Ethan stayed with church friends during Mother's worst episodes. Protecting his innocence became my mission. He deserved a childhood, even a fractured one. Some things couldn't be unseen. Dad's family created rotation schedules to monitor Mother without institutionalization. Aunts and uncles took shifts, sharing the burden. The curse belonged to all of them, not just our immediate family. Mother's attempts to force preparations failed as siblings physically resisted together. United, we were stronger than her desperation. She couldn't fight all 3 of us simultaneously. Numbers mattered. Dad witnessed Mother trying to insert needles under her own nails. The reality of what we'd been hiding finally hit him. He broke down crying in the garage, understanding the weight we'd carried. Extended family stopped judging my refusal to continue preparations. Seeing Mother's condition firsthand changed their perspective. Theory became reality when they saw her infected arms and hollow eyes. Carlos's mom examined Mother's arms, confirming nerve damage from repetitive scratching. Some sensation might never return. The physical toll matched the mental deterioration. Body and mind breaking together. Mother's birthday arrived tomorrow. She insisted on final preparations for all children before she couldn't guide us anymore. Her last chance to save us, she claimed. Her final act of love. During a grocery run, the cashier commented on Mother's bleeding arms. She claimed gardening accident while blood seeped through bandages. The lie came so easily now. Practiced through repetition. Stakes crystallized with brutal clarity. Continue traumatizing rituals, or watch Mother destroy herself. No good choices remained, only degrees of damage. We chose her life over our trauma. I handled Mother's episode with learned calm, wrapping her arms while she screamed about needles. Role reversal complete. The child becoming caretaker. The protected becoming protector. Natural order inverted. Dad's family shared their own stories. Mothers and sisters lost to various delusions. Each tale followed the pattern. Women in their 20s, specific obsessions, progressive deterioration, inevitable conclusion, truth acknowledged by all. Preparations were desperate attempts to break an unbreakable pattern. Each generation's solution became the next generation's problem. The curse adapted, survived, thrived. Small victory as Mother allowed medical treatment for her infections. Progress felt possible for the first time. She took antibiotics without protest. Even delusion couldn't override infection's reality. Mother hid sharp objects throughout the house, under sink, behind books, inside coat pockets. We found them all, but more appeared. She prepared for breakdown with methodical precision. Siblings removed hazards while Mother slept. She woke confused about missing supplies but didn't accuse us. Part of her understood what we were doing. Part of her felt grateful. Mother voluntarily took mild sedatives. Her scratching reduced to occasional touches. 2 days of improvement felt like a miracle. We dared to hope. Families need hope to survive. Support network formed through online forums. Other families dealing with hereditary mental illness reached out. We weren't alone. Across the country, similar battles raged in private homes. 2 days of improvement continued. Mother laughed at dinner, commenting on Ethan's joke. Normal felt foreign, but welcome. We grabbed these moments, storing them against darker days ahead. Mother asked to find Vera. We searched state facility records together. 3 hours away, her birth mother lived under medical supervision. The pilgrimage felt necessary. Origins mattered. At the psychiatric facility, Vera sat in the day room, arms wrapped in gauze, fingers curled from self-injury, but her eyes were clear. Medication had finally worked, decades too late. Vera confirmed what we suspected. The preparations had made everything worse. Each generation's attempt to prevent the curse only strengthened it. Love expressed through torture created only more suffering. Newspaper articles documented the pattern. Each generation's onset younger than the last. Vera at 28, her mother at 35, grandmother at 40. Acceleration meant Ethan faced early symptoms. Carlos's mom explained genetic testing options. Confirmation would take weeks, but specialists existed. New treatments, experimental protocols, ways to to monitor without torture. Science replacing superstition. Family meeting reached consensus. No more preparations. Proper medical support only. Medication, therapy, monitoring. Dad's extended family agreed to help. Rotation schedules, home care, love without torture. Mother accepted during lucid moments. She took medication, attended video therapy, allowed wound treatment. Progress felt real. Then came her 25th birthday. Everything changed in an instant. Bathroom door locked. Strange sounds inside. 3 kicks to break through. Mother on tile floor. Industrial needles pushed under each fingernail. Blood dripping in deliberate patterns. She'd planned during improvement. Used clear days to prepare for breakdown. The needles went so deep they scraped bone. Her fingers swelled purple around metal. She kept pushing. Hannah wanted to resume burning to show understanding. Dad physically restrained her. The trauma was spreading. I handled Mother alone while Dad took Hannah for evaluation. Weight of inheritance. I gave Mother the sedatives she'd hidden. Stockpiled instead of taking them. Another deception during improvement. Pills worked fast. Her body went limp. Needles still protruded. Mother woke in her own bed. Hands bandaged. No restraints. Family surrounding her with love. She cried real tears. For a moment, just Patricia. Not inheritor of madness. The moment passed. Needles still sang. She said. Wanted out. Needed out. Bandages trapped them. She begged understanding. We held firm. Love meant no. Love meant prevention. Family gathered in the living room. Vera's file served as reference. Mother alternated between lucid pleas and needle delusions. The pattern was clear. Generations of suffering documented. Old newspaper in Vera's file mentioned family legend. Cursed bloodline going back centuries. Each generation trying to break free. Each generation failing. History repeating through DNA. Ethan spoke for the first time about not wanting to hurt anymore. His young voice broke the spell. The pattern could end. Had to end. With us. With now. I faced the choice. Continue the cycle or break it with compassion. Medical help instead of mourning torture. Science instead of superstition. Love expressed through healing, not harm. Family chose home care. Carlos's mom would provide medical support. Choosing family over institutions. Choosing togetherness over separation. The curse couldn't survive united love. Mother agreed during a lucid moment not to hurt us anymore. Love overcame delusion briefly. The real Patricia emerged. The mother we'd lost to preparation madness. Still there. Dad blocked Mother's attempt to extract promises about future preparations. No more bargains. No more deals. The cycle ended here. Children would be free. Whatever came. Mother claimed I would drown. Hannah would burn. Ethan would be pierced. Siblings held strong together. United against delusion. Her prophecies fell on deaf ears. We chose differently. Treatment began showing improvement. Proper medication from Carlos's mom. Not torture disguised as prevention. Real help. Hope tasted unfamiliar on our tongues. We savored it anyway. Mother accepted reality in family therapy session. The preparations were the disease, not cure. Each generation's solution worsened the problem. She'd been another victim, not a savior. Family removed all preparation materials, burned them together in the backyard. The copper bell, the wooden box, the candles, the needles. Smoke rose like released spirits. New routine established. Medication monitoring. Honest communication. Therapy sessions. Healing harder than hurting. Recovery longer than sickness, but possible. Always possible. Love finds ways. Genetic counseling information gathered. Knowledge without fear. Preparation without pain. Understanding our inheritance. Facing it with science. Modern solutions to ancient problems. Hope through knowing. 6 months later, I watched sunrise at 4:44 a.m. by choice. Mother stable on medication. Hannah's scars fading. Ethan sleeping peacefully. Dad home every morning. The copper bell sold at garage sale. We carried our inheritance but refused to pass on trauma. Breaking centuries-old cycle with medicine and courage. Finally free to face genetic fate with science instead of suffering. Love instead of fear. Thanks for reading this story with me. I hope you have a wonderful day.